What if I told you that the difference between failing a class and absolutely acing it isn't really about intelligence? What if it's just about having a better system? Well, I decided to find out for myself. I ran a little experiment. For 7 straight days, I tried to study like an elite Harvard level student. And what I found, well, it completely changed everything I thought I knew about learning. And it all started right here with this one painful, kind of humiliating fact. I had spent weeks getting ready for this test, pulling all-nighters, rereading chapters until my eyes burned, and it all ended in failure. It was that kind of academic gut punch that makes you question everything. And yeah, we're not talking about a near miss, like a 68 or something. This was a 52%, a score that felt less like a grade and more like a final judgment on my entire study method. It was this number right here that lit the fire. I knew something had to change, and fast, so my experiment kicked off immediately. Day one wasn't about some fancy new technique. It was about confronting my biggest weakness head on, my complete and total inability to just sit down and focus. My research showed that the best students don't actually study for 12 hours a day. They work in these super intense, focused bursts. So I set a simple but kind of scary goal for myself. Just one 90-minute session. No phone, no distractions, just pure, deep work. 23 minutes. That's it. That's how long I lasted before my brain just screamed for a distraction. I checked my phone, I got up to get water, I convinced myself I needed a quick break. It was a pretty brutal wake-up call, and that's when the first big lesson hit me. Our brains, they're constantly being fed this diet of notifications and multitasking, and they've lost their endurance for focus. That discomfort I felt, that wasn't a sign that I was failing. That was the feeling of a muscle being trained for the first time in a long, long time. Okay, so days 2 and 3, this is where the game completely changed. I realized it wasn't just about how long I was sitting at my desk, but how I was actually studying. It was time to throw out my old methods and bring in the big gun, active learning. So here's the fundamental difference, and this is huge. Most of us, myself included, live in this world of passive review. Rereading the textbook, highlighting stuff. It feels productive, right? But the information just doesn't stick. Active recall is the opposite. It's forcing your brain to pull information out of thin air. And yeah, it feels really hard, but that struggle is exactly what builds strong, lasting memories. So how do you actually do it? It's this beautiful, simple 3-step process. First, you learn a new concept from your book or a lecture. Then, and this is the important part, you close the book, you shut the laptop, and finally, you try to explain it out loud, like you're teaching it to someone. If you can't do it, you haven't really learned it yet. It's as simple and as humbling as that. This idea right here is a total paradigm shift. We're all trained to measure studying in hours. I studied for 5 hours today, but the real metric for success isn't time, it's the number of retrievals. Every single time you force your brain to pull up a fact or a formula without looking, you are literally making that connection in your brain stronger. Now, this new method was effective for sure, but man, was it exhausting. By day 4, I hit a wall. The mental strain of it all was so intense that I really, truly considered just giving up on the whole thing. I woke up that morning feeling completely empty. My brain was foggy, my motivation was just gone. This super intense, active style of learning was taking a serious toll, and I felt like I had nothing to show for it yet. And that was the question just looping in my head. I was putting in more focused, difficult effort than ever before in my life, but all I felt was tired and frustrated. That fear that I was just spinning my wheels and getting nowhere, it was totally overwhelming. And then something kind of amazing happened. In this last-ditch attempt, I decided to just quickly review what I'd covered so far, and suddenly it was just all there. The concepts about cellular respiration I'd struggled with on day 2 were suddenly crystal clear. The diagrams, the formulas, they were just in my head, ready to go. The hard work wasn't for nothing. It was just taking time to wire itself into my brain. That moment of realization on day 4 taught me something huge. Individual techniques are great, but they aren't enough. To avoid burnout and actually get consistent results, I needed a repeatable, sustainable system. And this was it. Look how simple this is. No more of those marathon, soul-crushing all-day study sessions. Just 3 focused blocks: a deep work session in the morning for my hardest subject, an active recall practice in the afternoon, and a super quick review at night. It was manageable, it was predictable, and it was unbelievably effective. And here's the secret sauce. This system only works because rest is built right into it. After each one of those blocks, I would take a real break. Go for a walk, listen to music, grab a snack. Top students are not robots grinding 24/7. They work smart, and then they recover hard. That recovery, that's when the learning actually solidifies. And the proof? Well, at the end of day 6, I took a practice test on that same biology material. The result was an 87%. In less than a week, I went from a 52 to a high B, not because of some magic pill, but because I completely changed the process of how I learned. So on the final day, day 7, I didn't study at all. I just reflected on the whole week, on the struggle, the breakthroughs, and of course, the results. And it all boiled down to one single powerful idea. This is the core takeaway of this entire thing. Elite performers in any field, whether it's sports or school, they don't just rely on raw talent or motivation. They rely on better habits and repeatable systems that deliver results day in and day out. It's all about having a smarter process, and you can really boil it all down to these 4 simple habits. They work in short, intense bursts. They're constantly testing themselves with active recall instead of just passively rereading. They space out their learning over time instead of cramming, and they treat rest as a non-negotiable part of the whole process. Anyone can do this. Ultimately, the entire journey is right here in this one chart, a 35-point jump in less than a week. This isn't about me bragging. This is about showing what is possible when you stop trying to study harder and you finally start studying smarter. It's proof that the right system can absolutely transform your results. So I'll leave you with this. After those 7 days, I realized I wasn't lazy or incapable. I just hadn't been taught how to learn the right way. Your brain isn't broken either. You just need a better system. So the only question left is, what do you want to use it for?